Ladies and gentlemen, Twitter is tanking. It is down 10 points from the other day, from yesterday. They had a horrible earnings release. And here we'll read Twitter, CNBC. Before I go into my whole spiel about how I deleted my Twitter account 3 years ago, and I told everybody, just delete your Twitter account. It is the worst place to be on. It's a cauldron, a cyber reality, this boiling pot of discontent and anger and frustration where rules aren't applied evenly. So a Steele dossier is just fine, even though it literally breaks the rules and guidelines of Twitter. It is complete. It was purchased by the DNC and the Clinton campaign, and we found out it was likely riddled with Russian disinformation. The Steele dossier, not anything to do with Trump. The Steele dossier, utilized by the Democratic Party and media. Never had a problem with the Steele dossier, but they had a problem with Hunter's emails, which the dossier was used for 4 years, all throughout Twitter, was shared, no problem, no account was banned. New York Post, their account is suspended. Okay? I mean, this is just one example. Their account is suspended for breaking a story that will eventually lead, in my mind, to President Biden's impeachment. Because once Republicans take over the House, they'll ask, why did he lie about business meetings, about possible pay-to-play quid pro quo schemes that are highlighted within emails that his son doesn't even disavow or state are fabricated. Okay, they obviously they've given a tacit acknowledgement to the legitimacy and the accuracy of those emails. The New York Post's account on Twitter suspended. BuzzFeed's account definitely not suspended when they broke the dossier story, which was complete nonsense. Another example, LeBron James actually breaks California law. It's against the law to target anyone and to intimidate anyone utilizing a social media platform, which is what he did. Saying you're next, that is a huge, huge problem. Okay, you can't do that, especially with the platform that he has. The Twitter won't even say if that tweet broke its policies. Okay, you're talking about, but any conservative that says anything close to that, Trump's banned. Okay, could you imagine if Trump said you're next to a liberal or activist or politician? Could you imagine? And then if Trump said, well, I meant accountability. So we can go on. The rules are not and the algorithm in all social media sites, especially Twitter, is geared. The algorithms are geared towards the Democratic Party. We know this. This is not this, especially on Twitter. But anyway, Twitter stock plunges on user miss and low guidance. This is interesting because they have a great deal of debt. They have billions in debt. And I've been saying, look, it could be the best stock in the world. I'm not giving any financial advice at all. It could be the best company in the world. It could be there forever. I think it's going to bankrupt, eventually going bankrupt. They want a subscription for a service that's historically been free since its inception. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. You could read my writing in The Hill, The Huffington Post, Salon, The Jerusalem Post, The Federalist, The Daily Caller, other publications. You can go to hagoodman.com to see my debates as well. If you want to support my voice long-term, my Patreon is below in the description. To my new Patreons, thank you so much. And it's also on hagoodman.com. But ladies and gentlemen, the company reported a revenue of $1.04 billion for the quarter, which was up 28% from $808 million a year prior. It's a behemoth of a company, but it's not growing fast enough at all. Its debt is growing faster than its revenue. Twitter guided that, from what I understand, Twitter guided that it is expecting revenue between $980 million and $1.08 billion in the second quarter. Analysts were expecting a guidance of $1.06 billion on average, according. Okay, so Twitter's total number of monetizable daily users grew by 7 million in the fourth quarter to 199 million, but fell short of analysts' expectations of $200 million. Okay, so here's the here's the problem with all this nonsense and these numbers. Okay, they did the same thing during the dot-com boom in the early 2000s. They came up with these like funny and absurd metrics. Daily monetizable users. How on earth is anyone going to ensure Twitter's tally of daily monetizable users? Now, we don't know. We're just taking them for their word. And 7 million is not enough. If you look at the debt, so what was the debt? Twitter debt was something along the lines of $3 billion. I'll get it to you in a second. But let's continue reading. So they missed expectations, but here, Twitter stock was down more than 11% in after hours, so it's down actually $10 from yesterday. Twitter's total number of monetizable daily users grew by 7 million from the fourth quarter to 199 million, but fell shy of analysts' expectations of $200 million. $200 million. Anyway, the whole point is the following. You have no clue if their daily monetizable users went down. You're trusting them. There's no way to verify. That's the word I was trying to find. There's no way to verify if Twitter's daily monetizable users, so they have debt increased to 3.4 billion. I did a segment on this 3 months ago. I will link the segment below. Okay, 3.4 billion, and the link is below. The two links here. Based on Twitter's balance sheet as of August 3rd, 2020, long-term debt is at $3.43 billion. Okay? And Twitter also reported a profit of 68 million, contrasted with a loss of 8.4 million a year ago. $68 million profit for a billion-dollar company. For what? Multi-billion-dollar company. But it's $1.25 billion for the revenue. $1 billion in revenue for the quarter. That's not enough to address the fact that it has $3.4 billion in debt. If I'm wrong, let me know. If you think that's good, $3.4 billion in debt with a paltry $68 million in profit for the quarter, and their made up daily monetizable users being, whatever it was, and not hitting estimates. They're going for a subscription-based service. The company is in free fall, even though nobody really sees it. They're going for a subscription-based service. The question also is, why would you want to advertise? Why would you want to advertise on Twitter? Why would you want to advertise on Twitter when you have other platforms and Twitter is not really a home for 74 million Americans? So you have President Trump, you have other people saying, okay, let's go ahead and use existing competitors to Twitter, or make a new social media platform like Twitter. But you've alienated 74 million Americans. The daily monetizable users is a metric, a number that can't be verified. You have $3.4 billion in debt. You have a waste of time. Twitter has amplified the most absurd and dumbest viewpoints. Okay? It is a way to, some viewpoints are very noble, like Medicare for all, very noble. But what happens through Twitter is that you got Medicare for all, and everybody preaches and gives the sermons, and people are losing their lives because Medicare for all. And then you have media creations like Bernie Sanders and others, because he's become a media creation. AOC, for example. Medicare for all, people are losing their lives. Okay, then you want to vote on it Well, we can't. It won't even pass the Democratic Party. It won't even pass the House. I mean, it'll just be a defeat for Democrats. Well, wait a second. You've spent 4 years saying that anyone who doesn't want Medicare for all is an immoral human being and is somebody that is just backwards and wants people to lose their lives. And AOC becomes a representative in Congress because she promised Medicare for all, not because she promised policies that Democrats would have enacted with or without her. She promised Medicare for all, and she talked about a Green New Deal legislation, the planet's ending, all this stuff. Okay, none of those things are going to pass even a Democratic-run House, but they live on Twitter, and they build their political momentum is built on Twitter. It's a racket. So people say, like Democrats say, well, you know what? We'll eventually. I'm for Medicare for all. Yeah, I agree with Medicare for all. And then it gets tweeted, and then the Democratic politicians utilize the political momentum and the energy and enthusiasm or excitement that is derived from Twitter users on the left, progressives, truly believing that one day, if you vote Democrat, you'll get Medicare for all. It's a racket. They're never going to pass Medicare for all, ever. Okay, one very renowned, esteemed pundit on the left with a million plus subs said, oh yeah, it'll be 12 years. And then if that, 12 years. It's an example where the politics behind Medicare for all is driven by social media. And it's used to funnel votes back into the Democratic Party. So AOC and Bernie Sanders say, hey, you know what? We might get it, we might not get it, but it's the moral thing to do. And look, you have to vote Democrat because at the end of the day, you have no chance with Republicans. But at least you have some glimmer of hope one day in the future. See, look at my tweet on Medicare for all that it's just retweeted. So a million times. And that's an example, okay? I might not be explaining it exactly the way I want to, but it's a tool. The Twitter is a tool of the Democratic Party. And Twitter, like the Democratic Party without Twitter, is really like you don't have the rage and the contempt and the disdain for Trump without Twitter. And that's the thing. President Trump didn't utilize Twitter in the manner that he should have actually just left the past year. He gave them fuel. He gave them everything they need, all the ammo they needed to just drum up this disdain and contempt, and they created, his presidency was a Twitter creation. Like, he became a monster and a despot and a tyrant, even though he was signing prison reform legislation and doing amazing things that were far more of an accomplishment, like far greater of an accomplishment than anything that President Obama did, or definitely Bush. Being the first president to step foot in North Korea is a momentous, paradigm-changing moment in world history, and President Trump was the first president to do that, but he got zero credit, and Twitter is one of the reasons. But here you have $3.4 billion in debt. I'll read you the Twitter overview. I'll put that link below. Shares of Twitter, Based on Twitter's balance sheet, and as of August 3rd, 2020, long-term debt is $3.43 billion, and current debt is $7.25 million, amounting to $3.43 billion in total debt. So, $3.43 billion in total debt is not good. I don't care how you slice it, it's not good. Give me your thoughts below. I think they're on their way eventually to bankruptcy. I think that they will eventually be the MySpace of political media. I really don't think that Twitter is going to do anything in the long term. Like, the young people don't use it. People like myself who are into politics, obviously, have given up on it and should never really have. I mean, Twitter was not. It was. I got a death threat on Twitter, and then the police told me to, basically arm myself, utilize the Second Amendment, which I did. That's what you have in this country. You have a legal right to protect yourself and your family, and so that's what the policeman told me. And God bless law enforcement. That's another thing. On Twitter is an example of, I can just go on and on. If you want to distort reality and spew nonsense while at the same time circumventing a rebuttal from anyone outside of Twitter, just go ahead and live on that site. For everybody like who wants to actually live life in reality, Twitter is a dinosaur. Give me your thoughts below. A cyber dinosaur. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. It'll be the MySpace of media, political media, very soon. Give me your thoughts.